Hi and welcome to this week's video. This week I am starting a wildlife piece of a red squirrel. I just wanted to use this video to not only show you some real-time work but also to talk a little bit about the materials and things that I use. I know quite a few of you are interested in that, so I thought I'd just give some basic information on that. I'm going to start with this surface that I use. It's called Clairefontaine Pastelmat. Now I really like this surface. I haven't actually used any other surfaces for pastels, but I do really like it. I like it's got a slight texture to it, almost like a nail file. I think I believe it's cellulose fibre, gives a very slight, as I say, texture to hold and pick up the pastels that I use. I have also used this surface for colour pencil work, but it does take a lot of layers, and you need a lot of layers when you're trying to reach a level of realism. So that's why I use this. The only downside I find with it, it marks really easily, and by that I mean marks that you don't want on the surface. So I've got a piece of paper up here. I tried to cover the areas that I'm not using. You can't rub out very easily on it, although I do use this. It's called a putty rubber, because I'll use that as I go along, which I will show you. But I will also, because obviously you're going to be working on this, or I'm going to be working on this for a lot of hours, and you have to lean on it. So I use, this is actually tissue paper. I know some artists use a paper called glassine, so that's got a very smooth side to it. So I find that on acid-free tissue paper there is a side that is slightly shinier than the other, so I put that against the Pastelmat, and I find that it just slides and doesn't pick up much, if any, of the pastel. Pastel artists do tend to work, I'm right-handed, so I would work top left to bottom right ish. However, saying that, I always start with eyes. I can't work without the eyes being done. So I lean on this, and it just means that none of the sort of natural oils from my skin or anything get onto the Pastelmat. And if I do get pastel on my hand, it means that I'm not going to transfer that to anywhere else, obviously where I don't want it. But you will find, if you don't cover up, then the area around your piece will start getting a bit grubby, and as I say, it doesn't like to be rubbed out on. I mark the Pastelmat, or I mark the image out with a pastel, and they're only guidelines, so I will change them, and I will sometimes just go over them, and sometimes I will try and erase them with this. As I said, it's called a putty rubber. I just find it's the best one for the Pastelmat. The other thing you might see me use is, now I don't really know what they're called. I believe architects use them. It's like a measuring tool. The reason I have these, if I show you, this is the reference photo I am going to be working from, and I like to work, well, I will zoom into the picture as I'm working, but I like to get the size the same at certain points, especially with things like the eyes. It's such an important factor in the piece that I like to get the size of the eye I've drawn the same as the size of the eye on the image. So to do that, I simply measure with these, and then I measure on the picture, just to get that extra bit of detail, just so that I am getting the right size. I don't use them very often, but they are really handy. So okay, I'm going to start with, as I said, with the eyes. I always start with the eyes.